Have you ever wondered if that friendship that seemed like it would last forever is actually good for you? Maybe you've noticed something has changed, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is. If so, you're not alone. The truth is, many of us go through times when we realize that a friendship that was once vibrant and essential now leaves us with more doubts than smiles. Ever find yourself analyzing unanswered texts, efforts that seem one-sided, or even feeling like you and your friend just don't click like before? Well, this might be a sign that something's off balance. But hang in there, I know it's tough, and we'll get through this together. In this video, I'm going to show you the 6 signs that might be telling you it's time to reassess that friendship you thought was forever. And no, you shouldn't feel guilty. Growing up also means understanding when it's time to let some things go. The most important thing is that you take care of yourself, and this video will guide you in that process, with lots of kindness and empathy. Have you felt this way? I bet your friends have too. So, stick with me to the end, because I'm sure you'll relate to these signs and maybe even help a friend who's going through the same thing and doesn't yet realize it. Ready to find out if this friendship is worth it or if it's time to move on? You're looking for hidden motives in your friendship. Have you ever been in that situation where a friendship that used to be a source of comfort and laughter suddenly feels heavy? It's almost like you start to question what's behind every gesture or word. And it's not because you want to, not because you enjoy feeling this way. Without realizing it, the spark you two had has been fading. And as much as you cling to the hope that it's just a phase, that deep down you'll get back on track, the change has already happened. And it hurts to admit, because you've been through so much together, right? Remember how you used to spend hours talking about future plans? Now, those conversations seem more distant, almost like memories from another life. What used to flow naturally now feels forced, almost awkward. It's not like the affection is gone, but it feels like that bond you had is lost somewhere along the way. And you find yourself trying to find reasons for this, trying to understand where things changed, but deep in your heart, you know it's not just a phase, it's reality. The friendship you had isn't the same anymore, and the hardest part is it might never be again. Maybe it's life, maybe it's personal growth, or maybe it's just the natural course of things. But accepting that is so hard, isn't it? Because, in a way, you still cling to what that friendship meant to you, to the comfort, security, and history you built together. But sometimes, all we can do is accept that things aren't as they used to be, and that change is part of growing. You don't communicate anymore. You know that feeling that something's missing, but you can't pinpoint what it is? When communication with your best friend, once so lively and constant, starts to fade little by little, it's hard not to feel a void. In the beginning, you could go days without talking, but just one message or a quick meetup would bring everything back to normal, as if no time had passed. But over time, that changed. Messages became less frequent, phone calls almost non-existent, and that effort both of you made to stay connected started to seem one-sided. You find yourself trying to keep a friendship alive that no longer seems to reciprocate. You still consider each other friends, of course, but deep down you know something's changed. And it's not just physical distance that interferes, though it can be a convenient excuse, it's the emotional distance that really hurts. You try to convince yourself that both of you are just busy, that life happened, that paths took different directions. But at some point, you realize these excuses start to sound hollow, even to yourself. And here comes the hard truth: friendships, like any other relationship, need effort and attention. Without it, they crumble slowly, almost imperceptibly, until suddenly, you realize you no longer recognize the person who was once your confidant. It can be painful to accept, but sometimes the lack of communication isn't a sign that something can be remedied, but a sign that the connection is no longer there. And as much as it hurts, letting go might be the only solution. You want different things. This is one of the toughest moments in any friendship. When you realize that despite all the affection, you're simply going in opposite directions. Life is full of unexpected twists, and sometimes the choices we make distance us from the people we love the most. Maybe you want to explore the world, seek new experiences, while your friend prefers the stability and security of a more traditional path. Or maybe it's the other way around. The fact is, you're on different journeys, and trying to maintain a close friendship under these circumstances can be a painful challenge. At first, you try to ignore it, think it's just a phase and that eventually, both of you will find a middle ground. But as time goes on, the differences become more glaring. You start to realize that to stay in this friendship, one of you will have to sacrifice something important, be it a dream, an ambition, or even a part of your identity. And asking someone to do that, or being the person who needs to do it, will only bring resentment. It's not fair, nor is it healthy, for either of you. You might still love each other very much, and that's what makes this situation so devastating. How do you let go of someone you care about so much? But sometimes, loving someone means letting them follow their own path, even if it means going your own way, separately. You've found other friends. This is one of the most painful and yet most natural situations. You've met new people. They entered your life unexpectedly and brought new perspectives, new interests, and suddenly, you find yourself feeling more comfortable with them than with your old friend. And this doesn't mean you love your best friend less, or that they've been replaced. In fact, this is part of the cycle of life. New connections arise, and they don't diminish the value of the old ones. But when you start to notice that you're more in tune with these new people, that the conversations flow better, that the interests align more, it might be a sign that your old friendship has changed. Realizing this can be a shock, but it's important to be honest with yourself. Often, loyalty keeps us tied to friendships that no longer serve us as well as they used to. This doesn't mean you should cut ties immediately or that your old friendship has no more value. Growing up is understanding that people come and go in our lives, and each one leaves a unique mark. The important thing is to move forward with gratitude for the memories, but also with openness to new connections. They broke your trust. There's nothing more painful in a friendship than having your trust broken. Trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship, and when it's destroyed, it's almost impossible to rebuild. You can forgive, try to move on, but there will always be that open wound, that doubt that never completely goes away. And it's sad because, most of the time, it happens with people we love and trust the most. Maybe it was a betrayal of trust, a lie, or something you never expected that person could do. And suddenly, that perfect image you had of your friend collapses. You try to give them a second chance, believe that things can be as they were before, but deep down you know that something has changed forever. No matter how many times you talk about it, how many apologies are made, the trust that was lost will never be fully restored. And the worst part is that you feel you can no longer be vulnerable with that person, that the openness you had, that sense of security, has disappeared. It's devastating because true friendships are based on that mutual trust. Without it, the friendship becomes a shadow of what it was, and you need to decide if it's worth continuing. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself is to move on, as painful as it may be. Losing a friend is like losing a part of yourself, but trying to hold on to a friendship where there's no more trust is even more destructive. You're the only one persisting. This is a feeling that hurts too much. You look at the friendship and realize it's always you who's trying. You send messages, you suggest meetups, you keep the effort to maintain the connection alive. But gradually, you begin to realize that the other person isn't putting in the same effort. It's not that they don't care about you, but they're just not willing to invest in the friendship in the same way anymore. This is extremely painful because it leaves you with a feeling of rejection, as if you're no longer important to the person you care so much about. You find yourself struggling to keep the friendship alive while the other side seems to be drifting further away. And as much as you want to believe that things can change, that they can go back to how they were before, deep down you know that's no longer the reality. When a friendship becomes one-sided, you carry the weight of two, and that's exhausting. You deserve a friendship that's reciprocal, where the affection and effort come from both sides. And yes, it's hard to let go, especially when you've invested so much in this relationship. But sometimes, you need to let go so you can open up to new friendships, to new connections that truly value you the way you deserve. Because insisting on a friendship where you're the only one trying will only hurt you even more. Letting go can be the most liberating act, as hard as it may seem. I hope these signs have helped you better understand your friendships and, above all, value who you are and what you deserve. Remember, there's nothing more important than surrounding yourself with people who really support you, understand you, and help you grow. Sometimes, letting go is the greatest act of love we can have for ourselves. So, take care of your heart, be patient with yourself, and trust that the right friendships will always be by your side, through good times and bad. Let's do this together. Don't forget to share this video with your friends at the end, because we all deserve friendships that lift us up and improve our emotional well-being. I really appreciate you sticking with me to the end. And always remember, what you think affects how you feel, what you feel guides what you do, and what you do creates your outcomes.